Hi to everyone. Hopefully you've all had a chance to go through my bio and get a sense of what I've been doing through my life. But I'm gonna walk you through like how my career path went from my elementary, high school, university, and finally all the experience I had, like through the internships, through where I currently work in Facebook. So let's start. Like a short background about me. I'm from Croatia. I'm 25 years old and just moved here to London a year ago to work at Facebook. Yeah, cool. So in my elementary and high school, I started programming at the age like quite early, at the age of 8, 9, I believe, and that was influenced a lot by my parents, who both of them went to the same university as I did, and still have their own small software company in a small town that I'm from. So they like showed me how computers worked somewhat, and like showed me what they did. And finally they got me a tutor to show me like some basic programming languages, and I started with Logo and Basic. And it started getting more interesting to me. I started playing around with it more, and so I also got into programming competitions quite early. Like I believe it was in fourth grade. That's like 10 years old, and I was getting quite good results from it. Like I was competing first in my school competitions, then in the county competitions, and like the top one of those go to the country, like the whole nationwide, Croatia-wide competitions. And I was getting good scores, and me being as a competitive person as I am, that got me involved even more. So I like started even going to mathematics competition, and I was also getting great results there. And that finally led me to to enroll into university where I could study computer science, because that was something that I was always most passionate about, and wanted to do something with that, and wanted to finally work in the field of computer science after I graduated university. So I enrolled into University of Zagreb, and I studied at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, I believe it's called. I don't remember anymore. So yeah, the first 3 years I was studying computer science, where my final thesis. So my one of my thesis was on bioinformatics, and I'm gonna talk about that later. And I was also at my final bachelor's thesis. I was doing machine learning on natural language processing in a company where I was finding out whether people are cursing or doing hate speech in chat. I will talk about that later. And then so after I graduated those 3 years of computer science, I chose telecommunications as my master thesis, so as my master's. And there I worked on FPGAs, which are hardware programmer, where you program hardware basically to do some things that you cannot do fast enough in software. And yeah, that's more or less about my like what did I study. And what's interesting, I mean, what's different about me than other people in my university is that I've gotten myself involved in a lot of classes by being a teaching assistant, which meant different things for different classes. Like for mathematics classes, it meant that I was more or less teaching other students, like giving them additional lectures to get like a better sense of the whole coursework, to explain some concepts, to solve equations and things like that. But like in some classes, like for programming, it was helping them with lab assignments, also grading lab assignments and things like that. So it was like different for a different course. Yeah. So now I'm gonna talk. That was my university, but like my experience since like I just graduated college last year, my experiences greatly overlap with my college. So the first like real experience that I had was my 3 months internship in Genome Institute of Singapore, and that was when I was doing bioinformatics. it was a really weird coincidence for me. I mean, I was interested in bioinformatics, and then I talked to my later mentor, who pitched me the idea. Like when I came to him to talk to about my thesis, he had some connections, and he had been working at Genome Institute of Singapore as a external someone. Like he was working for them from Croatia. So the first question he asked me, "Do you want to go to Singapore during the summer?" And I said yes. I didn't even know what was it about, but later, like it was. So I was there in Genome Institute of Singapore for 3 months, doing some cool machine learning stuff about how your bacteria react to like different kind of bacteria in your stomach. Like if you add more of some type of bacteria, how others will grow more and like the others will die, and how are those connected. And that was really interesting. And so yeah, that was on my 3rd year of university. And after that, I was so I wanted to do more of this because I really enjoyed the applying your knowledge, the thing that I learned in university and thing that I was doing on my thesis to like actual real life problems. And because of that, I like after I came back from Singapore, I found a job in SofaScore. That's like a small company in Zagreb, the capital of Croatia. So this is a different kind. So Genome Institute of Singapore was more of a scientific approach, like writing papers, figuring out what can go better, like for actual human studies. And this was, more like of a conventional software company. So SofaScore is a live score. It's a app and a web interface where you can check scores like in soccer, basketball, tennis in lifetime, and people like heavily used it for betting, like checking scores and things like that. But the feature that it had a chat per each game. So people like who were watching a game, Croatia versus Great Britain or England, were talking about the game in the chat, like posting, "Oh, there's a goal now. What did they do?" And of course, how humans are, they started fighting in the chats, swearing at each other, talking hate speech. So I've combined that problem, and for my master thesis in my bachelor's, I was doing exactly that. Like I was applying machine learning and natural language processing to find out who are these people who are bad in the chat, how to detect them, how to prevent them from doing it, and it was really interesting. And yeah, that was like one of my projects there, and it got me like into also web development on things like that. Then in my 4th year, I've started applying for internships like in companies. I didn't feel like I was enjoying the work like in scientific world in the Genome Institute of Singapore, that kind of. I really like, so as I said, I'm a competitive person, so I like working in a company whose like motto is to move fast, to ship as many features and like make the company and their mission and goal better. And so I started applying into big companies like Facebook and Amazon, Google, all of them, and got an internship in like a few of them. And I chose to work at Facebook because I think it was like at the time it was the best choice for me, and I never regretted it. Like I had a terrific experience here for 3 months when I was an intern. Worked on some like real interesting problems in the team, and because like I did a pretty good job, and based on that I got a return offer to come back to Facebook after I finished my studies. So I accepted it and chose my start date to be 1 year after, because I still wanted to finish my studies in the university. But then in the meantime, I passed some of my courses earlier, so I had more time during the summer, so I had like this whole gap between my university when it would end and when I would start at Facebook. So I wanted to do something else. I also wanted to go to the US to experience it somehow. And then I applied and got an internship in Twitter, which I did last summer, just before I joined Facebook. And it was also a good experience. Twitter is not as big as Facebook is, but the scale is at which they operate is still much bigger than like some average company. And I got to learn a lot from them. Like got great experience. But since I was in that's a good neighborhood in San Francisco, which is like has a pretty big issues with, I don't know, I don't want to talk about it, with drugs and homeless and all that. I didn't like that that part of my experience, so I chose to stick with Europe and basically chose to come back to London, to Facebook. And that's what I did. Like that happened last year. Last year in November, I started here in Facebook in London, and it's been really great so far. In this 1 year, I've probably learned more than I did in the past 5 years, because you really get to work on some really complex real world problems. Work on problems which haven't been figured out anywhere in the world. Like the problems that Facebook is facing is something that's like at this scale that hasn't been done in any other companies, because like we work closely also with Google and like share opinions, share thoughts, and share how they are figuring out things. And some things aren't yet figured out. Like there's no silver bullet how to work out some things, and those are the kind of challenges that make me really apply myself, because there is a problem and no one knows how to fix it. I mean, no one knows how to approach it even. And that's what excites me currently at Facebook. I can talk more about like what specific things I'm working on, but yeah, I just wanted to give you a short, a brief pass through my career path, my life, how I ended up here. So yeah, if you want to know any of the specifics that I didn't mention, please ask me, because I wanted to make this presentation short and prefer for you to ask me what you're interested in, or like what you want to know. And yeah, so this is the time where you can ask me whatever you want. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks to Filip, even though you can't hear me. If you do have any questions, Callum and Armadale, please can you type them into the chat facility, and Filip will read them out and give his answers. And Callum, can you make sure that the drop-down box on the chat box says to everyone? I just...
So the question is, did I enjoy the SofaScore job? Yes, I definitely did, because that was currently at this time, that was my longest period of working in a company. So that was like, I worked there for 2 years, and I've learned a lot, but towards the end I started, when I started, I enjoyed it really much, because it started off as scholarship kind of thing, where they were planning to teach. So it was me and another guy. They planned to teach us like a bunch of things. They planned to teach us the technologies they use. So the first 3 months were spent like only about learning how they do things, which languages and all that. And that was really interesting. Then I started applying that knowledge to the website. But now when I compare it to Facebook, it's like not comparable because of the scale. It was like the problems were more obvious, like how to solve them and what was happening. So at the time, it was really interesting because I had no previous experience on how to do it. And I did definitely learn a lot. And then towards the end, like I've started seeing this common pattern of, problems that I've saw before or I solved before are coming up again, and the challenges weren't that much interesting. So that was like more of the reason why I wanted to apply to one of the bigger companies like Facebook and Google, to see what kind of challenges are there out there, like on that kind of scale, and it seemed to better fit my needs. Like when there's a problem, which you don't know a solution for, rather than working in a smaller company for a just a website and a mobile app where like there's not that much functionality, but you still got to learn a lot. So yeah, I mean, to sum it up, I did enjoy it, but I figured out towards the end that I am not that I would be much more interesting, that things could be much more interesting at a bigger scale, and that I could apply myself more and push myself further. So another question is, how old was I when I started coding? I was in my third year of primary school, however you call it. Like I was 9, because in Croatia we start school. So there's primary school is from 6 to 10, and then there's middle school from 10 to 14 years old. So yeah, I started in primary school. I started just, by my parents talking to me about computers, talking to me about what they did. And it sounded interesting because when I was a kid, like programming and computers weren't so like this much spread out. Like now there's computers and software and electronics around you everywhere. But back then it wasn't so much. So I really like the concept of, you can tell your computer to do something. And as a child, like it sparked an interest in me. Like, what else can I make the computer do? How can I figure out like some things on my own? And that was really interesting. So they got me a tutor, which was from a different school that I was. So I was like having private lessons or private meetings with him after school, and we were like he was explaining me some other concepts that are like used at a programming competitions, like where you have where the goal of your program is to write, where you need to care about performance. So it doesn't it's not the same if you write it in one way and another way. So there's like specific concepts you use in those kind of competitions. Then as I said, like I'm a pretty much a competitive person, so I really liked thinking how could I make it even better to be so that my program is faster than someone else, or like that it's the fastest. And that's what kept me going. And yeah, that's why did you want to become an engineer? I think it like mostly ties back to this what I was saying. I got interested in talking to computers and like making them do stuff that learning about all these things that I can make the computer do. And that was interesting. And I also wanted to apply my knowledge. Like I didn't want to just be a competitive programmer, because it doesn't have a sense of purpose, because your goal is to make the fastest program. Like there's no wrong, and so the output must be one thing, but it depends on how fast it is, how much memory is it using, and all that. So that also started getting less interesting for me, because I didn't see the purpose of doing that for a long time. So that's why I wanted to go into some field and help a company or help their mission, like I do now in Facebook, like to help them to apply my knowledge, to apply my programming skills and all of that, my engineering skills, for a better good, like to help people as Facebook is trying to do, and that like helps me grow even more and even faster. Which computer language did you use? Oh, so there's like probably more than a dozen. As I said, I started with some basic ones. Sorry, I just saw the question. Is coding endless? I don't think I understand the questions. Could you please rephrase it? Yeah, so I started with Logo and Basic, which are pretty much the basic languages you can use. You cannot do so many things with them, but it's a great way to start experiencing how do you interact with the computer, how do you tell him to, you know, read the input from your keyboard, do something with it, blah blah blah. It really helps to get into get you in the game. And later on, I started using like the languages that are, you know, really popular right now. Probably you've heard of Python, C++. I mean, I've used a lot of them, but I don't know how popular are they. Like C, Haskell, Bash, Perl. Um, what else? PHP, of course, for that web development. Um, yeah, like so you shouldn't be the thing about uh, computer languages, sorry, or programming languages is that it doesn't really matter. Like, you're not a better programmer if you know more languages, because a language is just, you know, a tool to accomplish a problem. Like, you need to you could apply any knowledge, you could more or less solve any problem with any programming languages. So programming languages just helps you to express yourself better, to tell your computer, uh, to explain to your computer how, in a better way, how you what you intend to do. It's like the same with like speaking languages. If you know, if you learn another language, you're not you don't know how to talk about the things you didn't know how before. You just know how to express yourself in a different way, in a different language. And that's how I think about programming languages. Like, I could just stick to one language and do whatever I want to with them. But like, some languages um, are more suited for like performance. Some are more suited for, you know, when you want to run the program on dozens of computers or like thousands or millions of computers. Some are better for some applications as others are for others. So that's how I see it. Yeah, so the question was rephrased to, is there a limit to coding or can it go forever? I still am not sure I understand the question, but I will try to, you know, give you how I understood it. Like, I don't think it ever ends. Like, in take Facebook for example. Like, if the company shut down today and everybody stopped programming, some things would, you know, still go bad after some time, because like, you cannot think of every possible way things can go bad, and eventually they do. So you need to come with approaches how to fix it. Because like, if we had Facebook and people stopped writing any code, in like a couple of years from now, when people are more and more using Facebook, you would start hitting some limits where, like, the current Facebook is not designed to, you know, support all 7 billion of people, and probably the site would get slower. Some, like, you know, problems would start happening eventually. And so yeah, it's definitely a never ending battle, because you always have to, you know, in a year from now we'll be doing different things that we are doing today, because different problems will arise and different solutions will need to be taken to solve those problems. So yeah, it's not that in Facebook, like, you're just doing the same thing that we were doing 5 years ago. It's like the whole company is growing and like learning from itself. So I mean, I used Facebook as an example, but I think it's like in everything. And also in competitive programming, like, it's a never ending. You can never learn everything about you need to know about competitive programming and all of that. So it's never ending. So what is your favorite thing about your job? About my job? So I really, really like what the company is doing, because I mean, how it's trying to get the world closer together. and make it the best experience for everyone. And so yeah, that's why I'm just in my transition phase here at Facebook, where I want to join integrity team, which is basically helping uh, helping other teams write policies and write detections for when people use fake accounts on Facebook to spam you, or like where there's uh, things like child exploitation, which is obviously bad and needs to be stopped immediately. So solving those kind of problems at a huge scale, like detecting that kind of behavior on Facebook, that's what I like. It gives me a sense of purpose of like, it's not just coding, it's solving an actual problem that we have in the world. And I really like that it's not just endless day of writing code. The code actually has meaning, and like that gives me meaning. um, but also, like, from the selfish side, uh, I really enjoy how flexible my job is, like in a way that I it's not like, as you see on TV in most companies, like where your boss tells you what to do and then you do it, and if you don't, you're fired or something. It's more or less like engineers here see the problems, point them out, like bring them out to your manager, and then like the engineers are the ones who drive what the company is doing, more or less. So if I see another problem, like we should focus on doing this because people are doing bad things and we should try to stop it, then this will probably be something that I will be working on. And that freedom of working on what I think is important is really important for me. And like, it really allows me to enjoy my work more. uh yeah, that kind of sums it up. What was this your dream job? uh Yes and no. I mean, I I think that I'm so let me rephrase this. Facebook was my like a dream job, but my dream job wasn't to be a programmer. I mean, maybe at some point it was, but now as I think more about it, my dream job would be not to be a programmer. Like, I would like to be in management of such a company, because I really like leading people, helping them grow, and helping people choose the right priorities, right focuses. And I think I could have like more influence, more impact, more sense of purpose if I was like in a management, like above. So influencing other programmers how to approach problems and things like that, that would be my dream job, because I really like helping other people with um, to figure something out, to learn something, to make them grow. And that's why, like, I think I'm still not at my dream job, because I wouldn't like to be programming for the rest of my life, because I think I could apply myself more if I was in management. But we'll see. For now, this is my dream. Like, this is the best job I've ever had, and I don't think as a programmer it could be better. What do you like about London? Um, I really like how there's opportunities to do anything, basically. I like coming from a small country. Croatia has 4 million people in total, and I believe London has more than that. I think it has like 8 million. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. I think so. Yeah, there's like a lot of people, a lot of opportunities to do whatever thing excites you. And I also like that my office is like right in the city center, like it's on the Oxford Street. So like when I go out of my work, I can do whatever, because like I'm in the city center, and I really like how there's anything that I possibly could think of that I ever wanted to do. Go visit a museum, go to a park, go to a football match, go to, I don't know, go to a pub with friends, go see a musical, an opera, anything, everything is on the couple meters away from you. So the endless opportunities for London are like my selling point. What's been the biggest security breach in the last year? That's a hard question. I don't know. So I don't think we had, so a security breach in my head is like when some attacker enters. I mean, I think we're talking about Facebook, or if not, like if we're talking about general in the world, I don't know, but I don't think that Facebook had like someone attacking our infrastructure or like trying to steal the data or something. You've probably seen in the news last year, like there was some problems with how Facebook policies were, the whole Cambridge Analytica and all of that. But that wasn't a security breach. Like no one was attacking us. People were just finding loopholes in how to use our data. Like if someone could see your picture, which you put to be hidden, to be seen only by you, that wouldn't really be a security breach. That would be, we had there was that's a privacy breach more or less. So our infrastructure wasn't handling that case well. I mean, I'm not saying that happened. I'm just giving you an example. So yeah, it's like some parts of the platform might be misconfigured to allow people to do something that general ethics wouldn't think it's acceptable. And I think, in my opinion, that was what happened with Cambridge Analytica. Like we couldn't see all these things happening, how people would interact with our platform, and that's when bad things happen. But we're here to stop that kind of behavior. Is it true that Facebook are rebranding? I mean, what I'm aware of is the logo change. I still haven't went too deep into it, like to see what else is changing, but I don't think it should be much. I know that the logo is changing through all the apps to make it to make people understand that it's like one whole platform, that all these apps are interconnected with each other, and that's why the brand changed. I mean, the logo changed. I'm not sure. Don't take my words too seriously for this. I don't. So what I'm saying is, like, I don't know what else. Like the motto, the mission of the company didn't change. As far as I know, the only thing I know changed was the branding, the logo. So yeah. If I couldn't do this job, what job would I be doing? Good question. Never really thought about that. Like, hopefully you mean like if I wasn't a programmer, what I would be doing. Not if I wasn't in Facebook. What else? What I would be working? Sorry. Yeah. So if I wasn't a software engineer, I don't know. Like as I said before, and as you've seen, I really like teaching, and I have like a a younger brother. He's also he's 10 years old, and he's also doing competitive programming because I've talked to him about it. He also enjoys it. He's really, really smart. He's much smarter than I was. He's been getting great results on the competitions, better than I did. And I like to think that happened because I took the time to explain to him how things worked. I took a different approach than my parents did with him. Like I didn't want to didn't want to pressure him too much. I didn't want him to feel pressured on doing this, and so I just let him choose his own time when he wanted to be taught, when he wanted to learn something. And I think that helped a lot for his enthusiasm. Like he's much more enthusiastic about it than I was. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed that kind of approach, like as I said, teaching people. So maybe I would have been a teacher or a professor. I don't know. Where do I see myself in 10 years? I would like to see myself, as I said, in management, which doesn't mean necessarily management, like someone who is making the right decisions on the much more higher level that I'm now. Because as I said, like right now I'm in a position where I'm in one team solving a specific set of problems, and you know, it's like specific knowledge you need to have to solve those kind of problems. Like it can get, you know, too specific at some points, but I would like to operate on much more bigger scale, like someone who is in charge of all of Facebook, like someone who is saying we should focus more on, I don't know, preventing stuff happening in our messenger platform, because that's where bad things are happening. So we should gather like all these 20 other teams and make and like help them figure this problem out. Like solving that kind of like big problems, like much more bigger problems, is something that I would like to do in my future. But I think like obviously it's not, you know, I cannot just jump to that point. So that's why I think I still need to grow, like, you know, from one team to then do solving problems in like 2 teams, 3 teams, being a manager of 4 teams, and like it's a step-by-step ladder. But yeah, in 10 years I would still like to be in this kind of field, like helping, doing something with computers, with software engineering, but to help the world to fix something in the world, like things that I see that are broken could be done better, where people are having problems connecting with each other, or like just proper communication. I would like to influence that. What was your favorite subject at school? This one is really easy. It was mathematics. I had this luck. I was lucky that I was always good at maths. Like I've always enjoyed doing it, and I've never had problems with it, and that's why I don't know. It just got me more into it. I really enjoyed learning about like mathematics, like everything that you learn in school. It was really interesting for me. That, and obviously informatics class. Like we didn't do programming, but like things, applying some like knowledge on computers, doing some like even video editing, doing that was quite interesting. But also like obviously programming was the most interesting thing that I did during my education, because it helped. It was a medium where I could apply my knowledge and like do something with what I wanted to do. Yeah. Which other fields of engineering are of interest to you? Telecommunications. So I studied that in my university, but I'm right now I'm not doing anything about telecommunications. But I also really like it because it's a different set of problems. It's more about, you know, the radio waves, how you set up the whole. I mean, yeah, I don't want to go into that because I honestly don't even remember all the kind of specifics. But I would also like want to work in some other company which does telecommunications, like Virgin or O2 or something, like, because the problems are also interesting to solve. Which company was your favorite to work for? Um, yeah, I think it's definitely Facebook, because just because of the scale, the challenges that are arising here. Like, it's a really fast-paced environment. Like, you need to be able to learn a lot and move fast, to because that's how just the whole company is, and you need to go with that, and that has helped me to grow much faster. And that's just because of that. Like, because I think that I've grown here in the last year, as I said, more than I did in the previous 4. um yeah, just because of that. I mean, there's obviously more reasons why I work for this company, but my self growth has been major, and I still think that if I stay here, I will learn like 10 times more than I did already. And that's why I really enjoy the work. I really enjoy how the company, how the everything is challenging me to, it's forcing me to grow, and that's what I like.
Does anybody else have any more great
Um,
questions? Some great questions there,
are
Amadeo.
there any more questions? Are there any other skills you need for this job? Um, yeah, definitely. So not only like the obvious ones are the hard skills, you need to know programming languages, you need to know technologies, but also what's important, like, even it's not less important, it's like the same amount of importance, is the soft skills, like the good communication. They teach us like how to communicate with each other, how to communicate about what you've done. Like, if you're just a programmer who sits at his desk and doesn't talk to anyone, doesn't know how to explain what he's working on, or she doesn't know how to give feedback to others, doesn't know how to receive feedback, like someone might get frustrated, anxious when doing that. And like teamwork, how to work in a team, how to collaborate with each other, and those kind of skills are, I would say, even more important than the programming skills here, because without those, like, those are much harder to learn. Like, because you need to change, like, if you're a really stubborn person, really grumpy one, you will never be able to take feedback from someone, and you will be frustrated, you will be miserable if you don't know how to properly take it. And then it doesn't matter if you're the best programmer in the world, it just won't be a good fit for you. And then this doesn't just apply to Facebook, it's the same for any kind of company, basically. If you're not a good team player, if you don't know how to talk to people, if you don't know how to, you know those kind of soft skills are pretty important in this environment. And also companies like Facebook, at least, is helping you acquire them by like teaching you how to give feedback, how to receive feedback, how to have crucial conversations, like when like when you're passionate about something. But I mean, I don't know how to define a crucial conversation, like when there's something burning, but if you might lose it if you don't restrain yourself in some way. So you need to know how to approach those kind of problems and how to talk about those kind of things. And Facebook does a really great job on doing that, on teaching you, like, have classes where you can uh, experience that, like you role play those kind of situations and also think about it, talk about how to do it. And I think that's really important. um, how many people work at Facebook? uh, I'm not sure. I believe it's around like 30,000, 40,000 maybe. Like, we've been growing a lot. When I was an intern 2 years ago, I believe it was 25,000 people, and now 2 years after, it's like if it's 40,000, then it's like more. It's 10,000 people more, which is 40% growth in 2 years. So yeah, it's really hard to say the exact number or even like the approximate, but I believe it's 30 to 40,000 all around the world, and not 40,000 engineers. Like that's also everything. Like people who work at any part of Facebook, like even people who are when you report a picture, someone might be in charge to see it, to see if it's actually a bad picture or something is bad. So like those people are not engineers, but like yeah, as I said, everyone who works for Facebook is as counted in that. What are the biggest challenges for keeping people's data safe? The challenges are that this is all in my opinion. Don't hold it, like don't think that I'm saying anything in Facebook's name. In my opinion, our society is changing, and like 10 years ago we didn't know what privacy problems are we going to have, how people are going to use the data, how people are going to misuse the data. So just when you already have the data, all the data that with the amount of data and scale, it's hard to. So now it's much easier, but like before, companies didn't have policies like when you delete a photo to make sure it's actually deleted everywhere. Now we have that kind of things, and but like just thinking about how people, what kind of data, because 10 years ago people, at least I didn't care if I went to play a game and the game wanted to know my my first, my name, my gender, my age and all of that, because we didn't know that someone would also use that data in some other ways that I didn't think they would, and they started. So now the problem is to think ahead of time to know what kind of problems will arrive with privacy, how people will misuse the data, and to make sure that the amount of ways they can misuse the data is minimum, so that people can control. So the biggest problem is giving getting the right balance of giving people the ability to control everything that happens to their data and how it's handled, how it's stored, how it's everything, but also to make it manageable at this scale and not to overwhelm people, because people don't want to have a setting for every part of their whatever is on their Facebook, like for every picture. So the problems are figuring out ways how to do it in the best way, and like with that will help the biggest amount of people, like people and stuff like that. How many hours a day do you work? It's really flexible, really flexible. I mean, some days I work, I don't know, 5 hours. Some days I work 9 hours because I want to. Like nothing is keeping me here, or no one is checking when I come in. No one is checking when I come out. Some days I wake up, feel lousy, just message my team, I'm gonna work from home today. So, and then I stay at home, work from home. It's really flexible in a way. If no one is depending on you, like no one depends on you to be in the office or to be there at that time, you don't have to. Like if you have a good reason, like you shouldn't be working from home every day of the week. But I had a delivery yesterday and I stayed at home just because it was more convenient for me. I was waiting for the delivery and I was also working from home. So it's really flexible. And I said, like, some days I come to work at 12 and leave at 4. Like I come to work at noon and leave 4 hours later. But some days I come to work at 9 and leave at 7 in the evening, just because, you know, I was in the zone. I was working on something. I had meetings. So yeah, it's really flexible. And yeah. How many users does Facebook have? Oh, I also don't know that number, but I believe like over all platforms, so like Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram, I believe it's over 2 billion. Yeah, definitely. I think it was also like 2 years ago, already when I was an intern, that we passed 2 billion users. I'm not sure of the correct number because I mean, honestly, I don't work in teams which in a team which deals with user kind of engagement. I'm more in the infrastructure stuff, like making sure that other teams who are working with users can be productive using Facebook infrastructure.
So any other questions, people? Just send Filip a message.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. Have a great day. Hopefully this was interesting for you.
Oh, thanks, Amadou. Oh, and thanks, Callahan. Thank you very much. So I'll close the meeting. And have a word with Filip. So if you
thanks everyone for the great questions. Hopefully I answered all your questions in a good way. If you have any other, you can feel free to connect with me. My email is, so it's my last name .fb.com at fb.com. If anyone wants to know, has any more questions or wants to do anything, feel free.
Or you could pass them through me.
I wrote it in the chat.
Yeah, or you could pass them via me. Thanks, Phil. Okay, so Callahan and Armadale, if you want to quickly leave, if you put your cursor to the bottom of the screen, you'll see to the right-hand side, leave meeting, and that will take you out instantly. So thank you.
All right, I'm gonna stop my video at least and mute myself.
So there, Phil? All right.
Sorry, I made that. It was the small ad hoc that was agent. Yeah,